Hello everyone, so today I will be sharing with you how I go from an idea to a full illustration, and I will also be going through my process. So you might have a seedling of an idea in terms of content, but I really suggest that you figure out exactly what you want with this piece, so you know what you're aiming for. Figure out who you will draw, what they will be doing, where they are, and what the mood should be. My best pieces always start with clear visions. For example, for this particular piece, I knew exactly what I wanted with this servant girl who meets this angry little frog in a warmly lit medieval kitchen. Know the main content of your piece before you do anything and have very clear intentions with what you want this piece to actually be. Then I began thumbnailing. If you want to get ideas for designs, by all means use Pinterest, but you also do not need references for this stage. One thing that was a game changer for me was spending a lot longer on thumbnails. These 2 pages look like I scribbled them in 5 minutes, but they actually took me about an hour because I was thinking so much about the composition and the angle. When a drawing is not working, don't try to fix it with more mindless drawing. Sit back and just think about it. Most of the work should actually come from you thinking. Ever since I've slowed down and thought more, my work has actually become much better and the process itself much easier. So just think more and maybe draw a little bit less. Now before I start sketching, I collect lots and lots of references from Pinterest mainly. I just typed in medieval kitchen and pasted them all into PureRef, which is a great free software. You can just paste your images and the references will hover above your drawing program when you enable always on top. So I collect the references as I sketch too, which I might need for specific objects like buckets or onions hanging from the shelf. For reference, I think it is also crucial to have an artist whose style you might want to emulate. Working from photos will allow you to create your interpretation of reality, but studying an artist alongside the photos will really help you see someone else's interpretation of reality, someone who's done it remarkably well. I used Arthur Rackham for this example because I love his fairy tale illustrations so much, the narrative, composition, inking and muted colours, all of which I wanted to incorporate into my own piece too. One thing I want to stress, however, about this is that your work does not need to resemble the artist's work. Simply looking at how they approach their subject matter can really help you. For example, I did an oil painting of one of my OCs, and I looked at Anders Zorn's oil paintings for inspiration. His work is incredible, but my brushwork does not even mildly resemble his, and yet I learnt a lot by looking at how he paints portraits. And I learnt way more than I would have just by looking at photographs as my references. Coming back to the topic of sketching, this is where we fix anything unclear from the thumbnails, finalise poses, etc. I knew where the main shapes were going here, but things can still change at this stage. For example, the window changed into a shelf full of plates. Whenever I sketch, I always create a rough one first where I lay everything out and then create a second sketch over the top which is a bit neater. This process takes the most effort because I need to do a lot of thinking and make the big decisions at this stage. But ever since I've put more effort into the sketching phase, my painting stage has become much easier. Just the sketching probably took me 3 hours. For colouring, even if you will colour neatly on specific layers, I recommend you make a messy first colour pass so you get your values right and can set the mood for your piece. Do not worry about staying within the lines or colouring everything, just the main values and colours. I had a lot of colour layers and it took me a while to figure out the mood, but I looked at a lot of interiors lit by candles and lanterns, which inspired me to go with this lighting. I kept on adding new layers and looking at how other illustrators use colours too. For me, I find that I like to start with more muted grey or brown colours and then add more saturated colours on top, although I have seen artists do it the other way round. But most importantly, try to work out your main colours and values, because if those do not work, small details will not fix the piece. Again, the first colour pass I had was super messy, but it took me ages to do just because of how much I experimented, looked at other paintings and just thought about the process in general. Once I had the basic colours in place, I began colouring and shading the small pots, adding some more saturated pops of colour and higher contrast to the piece. The easiest part of the painting comes from here on, detailing, adding smaller shadows, textures and perfecting the piece. This can take ages, but you do not actually need full brain power for this. If the pieces have fallen into place in the previous steps, this should be a breeze, just looking at different textures, neatening up the edges, adding final highlights and so on. So basically that's it. I hope you found the video helpful. If you disagree with anything I say or have something to add, please let me know in the comments, and I'd really love to discuss it with you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and may your creative endeavours result in a success. Bye bye!